You know, I've always been fascinated with old barns. They're all different, and you never know what you're going to find inside. Same is true with churches. They're all different, and you never know what you're going to find inside. For that reason, every Journey into the Presence of God Conference of Prayer is a little different. In fact, I encourage churches to determine their own schedule so that it will fit their personality. I also do my very best to be sensitive to the Holy Spirit as I lead the conference. You know something else about old barns? The longer you neglect them, the less useful they are. Now, some of them just need a new roof and a fresh coat of paint and they're back in service, while others, like this one, have gotten to the point where they really need to be rebuilt. The same is true in churches, and it's particularly their prayer life. For some, it's just some encouragement and a few pointers here and there, and they're back in service. But others, the prayer life of the church has been neglected for so long that they really need a rebuild. Pastor, whatever the prayer condition of your church, we know that God created your church to be a house of prayer. And I'm sure you've taught that biblical mandate to your people. And in fact, you're already leading the church in that direction by your own example. However, there's still something missing, isn't there? You probably wouldn't be watching this DVD if there wasn't a next step that needed to be taken in your church. The journey into the presence of God may very well be that next step. The question I'm most often asked about the Journey into the Presence of God Conference of Prayer is what's involved. Exactly what is it? Well, it's not a revival. It is a conference. There are 2 worship services and 3 one-hour teaching sessions, and sometimes a congregational call to prayer. Now, there's a great deal of information about the conference and a lot of details on the website, lowellsnow.com. But let me just share the highlights with you now. First of all, the 2 worship services. Many prayer conferences begin on Sunday morning, and the first service is Talking with God. I lead a prayer time right in the middle of your music time, and then I preach the sermon, Talking with God, which emphasizes that two-way relationship through prayer that God created us for. And in fact, during the invitation time, I do encourage folks to make a commitment to daily devotions. The second worship service actually is usually the concluding service of the prayer conference, and it's called the Forgotten Altar of Prayer. The emphasis here is bringing prayer back to the heart of our worship services. There are 3 one-hour teaching sessions, as I mentioned. One of those is called the Great Commission of Prayer. In Matthew 18 through 20, Jesus emphasizes the importance of us praying in agreement. And so this emphasizes the need for us to pray together, especially about our most difficult problems of life, to pray in agreement with a prayer partner, and in fact ask God to join our prayer partnership as well. The next session is called Prayer Basics, and it is just that, the very basics of prayer. The focus here is praying an authentic public prayer, whether it's in a hospital room or during a worship service, praying authentically as a New Testament priest, and the privilege that it is to be a New Testament priest, in which we can become literally a channel of God's grace and power into the lives of those around us. And then the third session is called Prayer Guide Techniques. At the very heart of my ministry is this concept of being a prayer guide and teaching others to be prayer guides. The skills involved in leading groups of Christians to the throne of God in prayer. And so it's in that session that I will teach 4 prayer guide techniques to your people. When the schedule permits, very often the conference concludes with what I call a congregational call to prayer, which is basically an hour to an hour and 20-minute prayer meeting in which I use and put into practice the techniques and the principles that I've been teaching in the sessions and sermons leading up to that, and bring it all together in that time, which many people say is the spiritual highlight for them. Thank you for your time, Pastor. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to contact me. I would just love to visit with you. Whatever the prayer condition of your church, God's grace is always sufficient. Let's explore the riches of His glory together. I look forward to visiting with you.